We're gonna stretch our full body and feel so good afterwards. So hop into something comfy and meet me on the mat. So we're going to begin on all fours, doing some rounds of cat and cow, which is a great way to both strengthen and stretch your neck and your spine. In cat-cow, we come to tabletop position. Our wrists are underneath our shoulders, so try not having your hands out too wide or too close. Make sure all 10 fingers are facing forward, so your hands aren't turned out, and then your knees are underneath your hips. You're going to drop your belly towards the mat as you inhale, bring your gaze up high towards the sky. And then exhale, you're gonna grip your hands into the mat as you round your spine up. Bring your gaze towards the mat. Inhale, drop your belly towards the mat. Inhale, look up. Exhale, grip those fingers into the mat. See if you can lift your back up high towards the sky. And see if you can sync your breath with each movement. So you inhale and exhale. If this is not for you right now, it's all good. Just forget it. And take a few rounds of this movement at your own pace. And then when you're ready, we're going to meet in child's pose, which is always available to you at any time, whenever you do yoga. So in child's pose, your big toes are going to slightly touch and you're going to open up your knees nice and wide. And then you're going to see if you could sit back onto your heels as you reach your arms out in front of you. And see now if your heart can drop towards the mat. A few arm options here. They can either be out in front of you like this. Maybe your hands come in your legs like this. Or maybe you want your hands out hugging your legs, and if so, you just need to move your knees in and you sit back like this. Try one that feels good for you. Remember, everyone is different, but we all can find a shape and relax for a little bit. So let your heart just melt on the ground as you let everything go. This is also a great pose whenever you're feeling stressed or anxious or a little overwhelmed. The compression of your body and having your forehead to the ground helps create a sense of ease and calmness. Take a deep inhale, deep exhale. And then have your hands come out in front of you, whichever shape you took. And we're going to walk our hands out towards the left. But you want to think about pulling the right hip back so you get a nice right side body stretch. Slow, easy, gentle breathing. And then when you're ready, you're going to walk your hands out towards the right. Pull the left hip back for a nice left side body stretch. And then walk your hands back out in front of you and make your way to a comfortable seated position. Child's pose is also great to do before bed because it's really calming and relaxing. Why don't you try it? And we're going to move to head to knee pose, Anjanae Asana. So see if your right leg can extend out in front of you like this. It's okay if you have your knees bent. And you're going to think about pulling your right hip back. And then your left foot is going to come onto the inside of your right thigh. If it doesn't touch, it's all good. Just find a shape that works for you. We're just going to sit up nice and tall wherever you are, and we're going to try to fold, bringing our head to our knee, what the pose is called. So it's okay if you're here. Or maybe you could go a little lower. I encourage you as you inhale, try to find a lot of space in this shape. So what that means is maybe lengthening your back, bringing your belly up from your thigh. And then as you exhale, see if you can fold a little deeper, letting your breath guide you in this pose, which is called Anjanae Asana. We're going to stay here for 3 deep breaths. If you're breathing, you're doing yoga and you're doing great. When you're ready, come up to sit, and we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So extend your left leg out in front of you. Your right foot comes on the inside of your left thigh. Pull the left hip back, right hip forward. So notice how my back already is nice and straight. So try not rounding your spine. Maybe you just stay here for today. That's fine. You're working your posture. And then as you inhale, sit up nice and tall, find that space. Exhale, see if you could drop your head to your knee, Janushrasana on the left side. If you'd like more of a challenge, flex your foot. Breathe. And slowly come up. Amazing job. So now we're going to transition to sun salutations. We're going to do Surya Namaskar A, which is a great way to create heat in the body. We're also going to be stretching our neck, our shoulders, our back, our legs, our core. We're going to feel good. We're going to do it together. So we're going to start at the front of our mat, standing in Tadasana mountain pose. This is not good. I'm obviously exaggerating. But we want to think about having really good posture here. So in Tadasana, when we're in the front of our mat, our feet are engaged. They're evenly distributing the weight from our heels and our toes on the ground. Why don't you just try that to see what that feels like? Try not to hyperextend your knees or lock your knees so you're nice and loose, sitting up nice and tall. But like myself and maybe you, we have a tendency to hyperextend our back. So if you do, just think about dropping your tailbone to the mat, bringing your belly up. Open your hands out, nice and active. Notice how my hands are spread apart. Now see if you could roll those shoulder blades back, expanding your collarbones. You might need to move your chin back a few inches so you have perfect posture. Good job. And then inhale, ground your feet into the mat as we're going to extend our arms overhead. See if your arms can be in line with your ears. Now look up. Exhale, we're going to swan dive to a forward fold. We're folding with the hinge of your hips. If you are not so flexible, it's all good. You're just going to bend your knees. You can do this, I promise. And fold. So maybe your knees are bent. Grab a hold of your opposite elbows for a moment. And then if your hands don't touch the mat, just bend your knees so they do. And then we're going to inhale, bringing our gaze towards the horizon. Notice how my back is flat. You can have your hands on your thighs. We're now going to step our left foot back, and then our right foot meets it, so we're in plank pose. In plank pose, your wrists are underneath your shoulders. Now, if this isn't available to you right now, just drop your knees. I know you can do it. So 2 options here. In plank pose, we're going to move to Chaturanga, the Yogi push-up. So please put your knees on the mat if this isn't available to you yet. You're going to shift your weight a few inches forward, and then you're going to bend your elbows 90 degrees. Hug those elbows into your body so you slowly lower. Roll onto the top of your feet. Notice how my knees and thighs are lifted off the mat for upward dog. You're gripping your index finger into the mat as you're lifting your head up nice and high. And then bring your gaze towards your belly like a beautiful wave. Using your core strength, you're going to push it back to downward dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. In downward dog, hopefully if your alignment feels a little off, come back to a plank pose and then shift your weight, your hips up. So that's more or less the distance between your hands and your feet. All 10 fingers are facing forward, so make sure you don't turn your hands out or in. You want a nice long back here. So if your heels don't touch the mat, which they probably aren't going to your first time, mine didn't, so it's okay, we're gonna get there. You're gonna bend your knees, so notice how my back is still flat. Or if you don't like how this feels, just take a wider stance. You can do it. And then bring your gaze towards your belly. Take a deep inhale, deep exhale. Maybe pedal out the feet if that feels nice. You really don't want to think about evenly distributing the weight from your hands and your feet. So not all your hands are, not all of your weight are in your hands. Just think about shifting your booty up high towards the sky. And then bring your gaze in between your hands, and we're just going to walk your feet forward in that forward fold. Please bend your knees. You're going to think about shifting more of the weight onto your toes as you can lift your booty up a little higher towards the sky. Ground your feet into the mat as you lift all the way up to standing. Arms come overhead. Exhale, bring your hands to your heart center, Samastitihi. We're going to do that one more time. So ground your feet into the mat, lift your arms up high, great posture. Swan dive. Bend your knees if you need some help getting your hands towards the floor. Inhale, flat back, your gaze is towards the horizon. We're going to step our left foot back, then our right foot, so we're in plank pose. Then you can also, remember, drop your knees towards the mat, which I'm going to show you this time. If you'd like, we're going to move to Chaturanga, so shift your weight a little forward as those elbows bend 90 degrees, hugging into your body. And then you're going to roll onto the top of your feet, knees and thighs lift for upward dog, Urdhva Mukha. And then like a beautiful wave, shift those hips back up towards the sky. Adho Mukha, downward dog. Gaze is at the belly. Engage the index finger towards the mat. I'll come closer for a second. So your hands are facing up. That's one of the most common mistakes I see, where students have their hands turned out like this or like that, which isn't good. So really think about having all 10 fingers facing forward, and you especially want to engage your index finger and your thumb. So you can pedal out the feet if you liked how that felt. Microphone is still on, so we're good. And then bring your gaze forward, and we're gonna walk our feet to meet our hands. Shift the weight more onto our toes as we lift our hips up a little higher towards the sky. You can also bend your knees. Ground your feet into the mat as you come up all the way to standing. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, your hands to your heart center. We did it. Now let's add on a little bit. Get the flow, creating more heat in the body. You can do it. So standing at the top of our mat, your toes this time are just going to gently touch. We're going to do chair pose, Ukitasana. So we're going to sit our heels back. We're going to sweep our hands on towards the mat. Imagine there's a teacup on your thigh, so we're sitting our booty back, but don't hyperextend the back like I am. So if you do, just drop the tailbone, bring the belly up. Arms are in line with your ears. See if you can do this. Now, if anyone would like more of a challenge, see if you could come up onto your toes. Whoa, baby. We're going to hold this for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Amazing. Straighten your legs as we fold. Inhale, flat back, gazes towards the horizon. Now we're going to step our left foot back, right foot meets it. So we're in plank pose. Maybe you know what we're doing. Drop your knees again if this Chaturanga shape isn't available to you yet. But you're going to shift your weight a little forward, bend those elbows. Inhale, come to upward dog. Make sure you're gripping your index finger into the mat. Shift those hips up. You got that core, downward dog. Gaze at the belly. This time we're going to lift our right leg up for three-legged dog. Try having your toe pointing towards the ground so we're not turning out. So right toe is pointing towards the ground. You could also come up onto your left toes if you'd like. And then we're going to bring our knee towards our nose for a little bit of core. You can do it. And then quietly step that foot in between your hands, and we're going to drop the knee towards the mat. For Anjanae Asana, which looks like this. So we're going to think about shifting our hips forward and also down. So let those hips just completely melt away. Then I want you to imagine pulling the right hip back, left hip forward so our hips are nice and even. Now see if you can reach your arms up so your arms are in line with your ears. Bring your gaze up. This really is working our psoas, releasing any tension in the lower back because we're also stretching the glutes. Most of the time when we're stressed, we engage the butt muscles, which isn't good. So we're letting this all go. This is one of my all-time favorite stretches to opening up the groins as well. Breathe. And then we're going to straighten our front leg as we fold. If you'd like more of a challenge, you can come onto your heel, flexing your right foot. Imagine pulling the right hip back, dropping your head towards your knee. You're doing great. Deep inhale, deep exhale. And then we're just going to step it back to downward dog. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So lift your left leg up high towards the sky, your toe is pointing down. And if you want, come onto your right toes to lift up. Bring your knee towards your nose as you try to round the spine for a second. And then gently step that left foot in between your hands, drop your knee towards the mat. Forgot to mention this, but your toe can either be tucked or untucked. It's just a personal preference. All of yoga is a personal preference. You do what feels good for you. And then you're going to sweep your arms up high towards the sky, dropping the hips towards the ground, but also forward to get the full stretch here. Lift your heart. See if your arms can be in line with your ears. This makes it a little harder. And your fingers are all engaged, lifting the heart. Breathe. You are doing great. And then when you're ready, again, you could stay in these poses for as long as you want when the video is done. I highly recommend doing it. It feels really good. But you're gonna straighten your front leg, come onto your heel. If you'd like more of a challenge, pull the left hip back as you fold. Breathe. Good job. Walk your hands forward so you're maybe know where we're going, which is downward dog. So step it back to a downward dog. Again, if you think your alignment is off, just come to a plank pose where your wrists are underneath your shoulders, and then you're gonna lift your booty up. Bring your gaze towards your belly. And in this down dog, maybe pedal up the feet. That sometimes feels good. Maybe you hold one side, or maybe you just go fast. It also feels really nice to shake your head yes and shake your head no. Release any tension in your shoulders. Now this time we're going to lift our right leg up high towards the sky. Bring your right foot in between your hands, and we're going to make our way to Warrior One, Virabhadrasana 1. Your back foot, I want your back left toe facing the left corner of the mat. Your hips are going to be nice and even as you bend your front knee. So your knee is hopefully over your toe or around there. And then you're going to have your arms straight in line with your ears as you look up. And breathe. See if you could sink your hips a little lower. I know it's hard, but you're going to breathe through it. Take a deep inhale, deep exhale. When you're ready, we're going to open it up to Warrior Two, Virabhadrasana 2. This time, your back leg is going to be parallel towards the back of the mat. You might need to take a little bit of a wider stance. Your front foot is also in the middle of your back foot. Now you're going to bend your front knee over your toes as you reach your arms out like this. And breathe. Gaze is forward. Make sure you're imagining as if you're pressing energy down, and at the same time energy is pressing you up. So you're toning the arms. Breathe. And now we're going to flip our front palm so palm is facing up as we're just going to reverse the warrior. Imagine there's a string on your middle finger that's pulling you back. And now straighten your front leg, reverse triangle. Amazing job. Cartwheel your hands towards the mat. If anyone wants to do Chaturanga, upward dog, you can. We're going to meet in downward dog. Then you're going to lift your left leg up high towards the sky. Left toe is pointing down, as it's going to quietly step in between your hands for warrior one on the opposite side. Remember, your back toe is facing the front right corner of the mat. Your hips are nice and even. Perfect posture here. Now reach your arms up overhead. Gaze is at your fingers. Relax the shoulders. Make sure you're breathing and engaging the core. Open it up to warrior two. Take a wider stance if you need. Your back leg is parallel towards the back of the mat. Your knees over your toes. Maybe you could sink a little lower. Open your arms. Gaze towards the front of the room. And breathe. And then we're going to flip our front palm as we reverse our warrior. Wow, you should feel a great left side body stretch. And then cartwheel your hands towards the mat as we step it back to downward dog. And we're going to stay here for 3 deep breaths. Your gaze is at your belly. Remember, all 10 fingers are facing forward. Engage the index finger in the thumb. See if you could lift your hips up even higher. And maybe you can slowly drop your heels towards the mat. See if you could spin your inner thighs outwards so you roll more onto the outer edges of your feet. Deep inhale, deep exhale. And then you're going to slowly walk your feet to meet your hands in a forward fold. Again, bend your knees. If your hands don't touch the mat, you're doing great. Grab a hold of opposite elbows and just hang heavy here. Shake your head yes, shake your head no. But now, as you inhale, see if you can shift your weight onto your toes as you lift your hips up even higher towards the sky. Maybe you're here. Maybe that feels good. Maybe you're here. Maybe you're here. It's just having your head below your heart. That's what we're trying to get at. And then wherever you are, ground your feet into the mat as you come up to standing. Amazing job, my friends. Now, we're going to make our way into a comfortable seated position for cobbler's pose. So see if the outer edges of your feet touch. You're sitting up nice and tall, like this. Now, if you have blocks or pillows, it feels really nice to have your legs supported if you're super tight in this area. So you could pause the video and get 2 pillows to put underneath your legs. It feels really good. Sit up nice and tall, perfect posture. Imagine there's a string on your heart now, and I'm gonna pull you forward. And then when you can't go anymore, that's when you fold. Look at your pretty feet. That's a joke because my feet are gross. And then come up. And let's do Janusharsasana again to see if that flow that we did maybe opened up our legs a little bit more. So we're going to extend our left foot out in front of us. Our right foot comes onto our left heel. Pull the left hip back, sit up nice and tall as you fold. Deep inhale, deep exhale. And then when you're ready, we're going to switch sides. Now, if one side is more flexible than the other, just notice it. That's common for most people. My left leg is a lot more flexible than my right. Just how I am. And then we're gonna make our way onto our belly. To end in Shalabhasana, Locust pose. See if you could ground your hips towards the mat and then interlace your hands behind you. And now using your back strength, see if you can lift up. Your gaze is directly out in front of you or it's right on the mat. Now you can stay here if you'd like to try the full shape so you can lift your legs off the mat too. And breathe for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Amazing job. Thank you so much, my friend, for watching this flow. If you did it, please let me know how it felt for you in the comments below. And please subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already. Have a good day. Namaste.